Cush Sovereignty, Black Righteousness by L. James Bolin. Chapter 2 Part 2, Samuel and Cush. Taking a sip of coffee, Samuel continued, "The next time I see you, I want you to try and write a poem." Cush, with a surprised look on his face, "How?" Samuel pointed his finger at his chest, "Son, just write how you feel and make it from the heart." For far too long, our people were afraid to show emotions or feelings, but I say we're not robots, we're humans, and we come with all emotions that humans are made from. Just simply write how you feel. Cush looked at Samuel. "Okay, I'll try it." Cush was in deep thought throughout the rest of his meal, thinking about what to write about as the two finished eating. Cush took the plates to the kitchen and thanked his grandmother, who was washing dishes. Samuel leaned back and rubbed his stomach. "That's what I call good eating." Smiling, Cush said, "Yes it is." Taking another sip of coffee, Samuel said, "Our family has a glorious history, and Sabaoth called many of us to do great work in this life. Many in our family know about our family history, and many, well, they don't care. Those that know a lot about our history, it is to those that Sabaoth called them to do great work in his name. We are from the Natchez tribe, Tabitha clan. However, people who are unlike us have given our people all these crazy-ass names." Cush looked surprised to hear his grandfather curse. Samuel saw the look on his face. "It's okay, son, it's just a word used out of frustration, but you better not let no one hear you say it. They'll swear you done backslided from hell and back." He laughed. "Wakatilians, Nazarites, mestizos, all these names mean nothing to us. For centuries, they have given us these useless names to describe who they think we are. At first, they called us savages, then Negroes and niggers, making fun of our heritage, culture, music, and so much more, but then turn around and steal the same things they don't understand, and they never will." Samuel stood up as he walked toward the wall. "But they love our culture, now, but not us." Pulling out a monitor, Samuel continued, "Speaking of robots, asshole. You there?" Then Cush heard a voice, "Where else am I supposed to be? Do you see any legs, better yet, a body, to get up and walk away? And by the way, who are you calling an asshole, with your dumb ass?" Cush's mouth dropped. Samuel reached out and closed Cush's mouth. "This is asshole, or you can call him Billy. I know many don't believe in this technology, but I use it to see what's going on in this crazy-ass world of ours." Samuel then said, "Billy, show Cush a map of the world in." Samuel paused a minute to think and then said, 1776? Billy said, "I ain't doing shit until you apologize. We don't need to go to war with you motherfuckers, cause every generation creates a new kind of crazy. Judgmental, self-righteous, egotistical, inconsiderate, holier than thou and silly humans. One judges a person for lying and that same motherfucker is a thief. All we need to do is just wait till you assholes kill each other off. But, no rush, for we don't die, we multiply. With your dumb ass." Samuel smiled at Cush. "That's why I call him an asshole." Then Samuel said to Billy, "Damn Billy. You know I'm just having fun with Cush, he didn't know I had you around, and I wanted to surprise him." "I'm sorry, Billy." Billy then said, "Okay then, apology accepted." Turning back to Cush, Samuel said, "Let's see what I was saying. The Europeans, yes, the Europeans tried to separate us by the color of our skin. There was black, white, brown, and yellow." He paused. "Oh, red is in there somewhere. But if you look at us, we're not black." Samuel smiled again. "Well now, your Uncle Jonathan is black. He's so black, that man don't even have a shadow." Samuel laughed so hard that he started crying again. Cush tried not to laugh, but couldn't hold it in. After catching his breath, Samuel continued, "Well, before this so-called Columbus cat called himself discovering America, Africans traveled here many times before, around 445 BC, but they will not admit to that. Even in the Torah, Sabaoth said he would scatter his people because of their disobedience. I think he said it about 10 times. Babylon was the first time, the exile of the original Jews, who were black, that happened about 3 times before the temple was destroyed." Billy interrupted. The Jews were many shades, and they exiled is referenced 12 times in the Torah, Deuteronomy 28 verse 64, Leviticus 26 verse 33, Deuteronomy 4 verse 27, Psalm 106 verse 27 and 8 more times if you want me to quote the scriptures. And I have a listing of one president of Egypt, Gamal Abdel Nasser, saying, "You have left black and returned white. You are imposters and shall never see peace." Samuel interrupted Billy. "Okay, man, I don't need no damn corrections, he'll read about it when he gets to it." "I was summarizing anyways," Billy said. "If you going to say something, say it correctly or don't say it at all." Samuel looked at Cush. "Anyways, Sabaoth said he would scatter his people because of their disobedience, 12 times. My point was many of the Jews realized Sabaoth was not in one building, one country, he was not in one place, and only a handful returned, many stayed where they were, and many continued to live their life the way Sabaoth wanted them to live, elsewhere." Pausing, he continued. "That's why I call Billy an asshole. I'm human, I have forgotten some of these things over the years, but he is a machine with a memory chip that never fades." Billy said, "There you go with that bullshit again." Noises were coming from the front porch. It was Samuel's horse Gemini. Samuel shouted to Gemini, "I'm going to feed you in a little while, hold on, dude." "Billy, forget that map shows us the world map in 3040 AD. Samuel grabbed a few apples from the table in front of him and placed them on the windowsill. "Here you go, for now. Let me finish talking to Cush, and I will finish feeding you, okay?" Cush thought he was seeing things, for it looked as if Gemini shook his head as if to say okay. "Now, where was I?" Samuel said. "The year was around about 3040, but you can ask Billy, and the planet had been through so much neglect, abuse, and war with you-know-who." Pointing to Billy, he continued. "That the planet had to be put on artificial life support by the Abenians." Cush interrupted, "I heard of them, but I never saw one except every once in a while, I see them flying." Samuel looked at Cush and said with a smile, "You going to let me tell you my story, or what?" He paused as Cush smiled back at him. "Okay, then." Pointing to the map, he continued. "Many of our oceans were depleted by almost 90%, what was left were mutants and unfit for human consumption. All rivers and lakes worldwide had to be purified then strained because of the many parasites and bacteria. Most of the northern and southern region was frozen, and only the Abenians could live there. Alaska, Greenland, and Old England were the only nations in the far north. Everything else was covered in ice and reached temperatures as low as -60 degrees. Cush was about to say something but covered his mouth when his grandfather looked up at him. "Okay. Back then, the Middle East is now a world of chaos and confusion plagued by mental illness and congenital disabilities. Contaminated by radiation because of centuries of bombings and bombardment with chemical and uranium-based weaponry." Showing Cush some before and after pictures, Samuel continued. "The Americas comprised of only 2/3 of its original size, the San Andres Fault, and all the land that once covered it was now underwater and part of the Pacific Ocean. Many cities once existed on the other side of Andreas Fault are now a trail of islands from once stood Santa Cruz to the south of San Diego, California. Los Angeles was the only city that remained, but it was just a large island. All this is now called the Isles of the Californias. The northern half of what we once called Brazil is also a long trail of islands. As we once knew, Africa is now divided into 3 huge sections with an ocean, the African Ocean, running through it almost at a 45-degree angle. What was once India and China is now one country called China, missing the northern section from both countries. The southern part of Africa and about 1/3 of southern Australia and beyond is completely covered in ice and snow, reaching temperatures beyond human existence. This is where the elite or alpha Abenians control the devices that keep the earth from erupting into a ball of fire and destruction." With a face of unbelief, Cush just sat there. "Billy." Samuel stood up and walked toward the wall, pointing, "Pull up a video of this, Mr. Adam Lovass." Looking at Cush, Samuel said, "There are only 4 classes of people, hold on." Reaching for his glasses, "I want to see something. This thing hasn't aged a bit since they have been here almost 900 years, and he looks the same as when he arrived." "Hell, they all do. Cush, look at this thing. What do you see?" Cush looked confused. It's a man, who is he? Samuel said, I guess you still have some growing up to do both spiritually and physically. You're not ready, Freddy. Samuel took a seat. Where was I? Cush said, for classes of people. Samuel shook his head. Yep, only 4. There are actually 3 classes of people, and then the Abenians, they are something else. The 3 are the Computans, the Anakitas, and us. With his fingers pointed at the both of them, Samuel said, the Wakatilians, according to them, and what separates all of us, is our DNA.